Hello, dear viewers. This is Burundi National TV broadcasting live from Bujumbura, economic capital city. Welcome to the English news edition. I will begin by top stories. The President of the Republic, Evariste Ndayishimiye, returned this Tuesday evening from a working trip to Gabon. The trip aimed to strengthen bilateral relations between Burundi and the Gabonese Republic, and during which cooperation agreements were signed. Abroad, former U.S. President Donald Trump scored a big win in the Iowa caucuses on Monday night, with his Republican rivals languishing far behind. He promises to make Americans to come together. These were headlines. News in details. I'm Joseph Mundajambo. During the visit of the President of the Republic of Burundi to Gabon, Evariste Ndayishimiye visited different companies in this country. He also promised his Gabonese counterpart, Brice Oligui Nguema, to support him in the ongoing process to the calendar of activities of the ordinary parliamentary session of December for the period from January 15 to 29, 2024. Dieudonné Ndacyayisaba reports.
Some of activities planned for the period of 15 January to 29 January this year include plenary sessions for analyzing and adopting different bills. Here we can mention bill related to Supreme Court and bill related to the organization of electricity sector in Burundi. The bills will also analyze and adopt a bill ratifying by Republic of Burundi grant agreement of funding employment and economic transformation project between the Republic of Burundi and International Development Association. In addition to this, they will also have commission activities and extended office meetings. After debate and exchanges, this bill has been adopted unanimously.
Staying home news, the consultant must have presented within 1 year the final report of the studies of the Gitega-Kindu Railway construction project to the steering committee. This emerges from a 2-day meeting of the steering committee of this project with the experts. This meeting held in Bujumbura, capital city. Elsie Kamukama has details.
That 2-day meeting had gathered the managing committee of the railway construction project of Gitega-Kindu, experts from some member countries of Central Corridor, with the consultant that has been assigned to study the possibility of that railway construction. As has said Florian Okanjo, Executive Secretary of the Central Corridor Transport Facilitation Agency, that consultant will have to give the final report in 1 year, so to continue the process.
Came to validate the intermediary report number 1, submitted by the consultant to the Secretariat. We as a coordination agency, we receive the report of the consultant and we submit it to the member states, which are United Republic of Tanzania, DRC and the Republic of Burundi. They are the one who should validate the report of the consultant, and this is why we are here. And before we as a steering committee members to meet, we nominated the expert. The expert came here, they met the consultant at Ngozi, they worked during 6 days, they worked and they made some recommendations. And now the steering committee members came to analyze the report of joint technical report, the joint technical committee, but also to validate the report. Now, during our meeting, we we provided some guidance to the consultant, and he took note. He is going back with those recommendations to improve the report and to resubmit for validation.
Note that now the Central Corridor is made of 7 countries: Burundi, Tanzania, DRC, Uganda, Rwanda, Zambia and Malawi.
Crossing borders now, former U.S. President Donald Trump scored a big win in the Iowa caucuses on Monday night, with his Republican rivals launching far behind. He promises to make Americans to come together.
And I really think this is time now for everybody, our country, to come together. We want to come together, whether it's Republican or Democrat or liberal or conservative. It would be so nice if we could come together and straighten out the world and straighten out the problems and straighten out all of the death and destruction that we're witnessing. That's practically never been like this. It's just so important, and I want to make that a very big part of our message. We're going to come together. It's going to happen soon, too. It's going to happen soon.
And then talking about Hamas-Israel war, Hamas appeals to show dead bodies of 2 captives in video and 1 still alive. Israel's defense minister has condemned as psychological abuse the latest Hamas claims over hostages being killed by Israel strikes. Details.
Propaganda videos released by Hamas early on Monday showed 26-year-old Noah Argamani and 2 men, Yossi Sharabi and Itai Sfirsky, each speaking directly into the camera. The time and location of the videos could not be verified, and they came with a taunting message from the militant group that the fates of the 3 hostages would be announced later in the day. Hours later, Hamas released video footage purporting to show the bodies of the 2 men, claiming they had been killed by Israeli airstrikes. Israel's top military spokesman denied the accusation, at least in part.
Itai was not shot by our forces. That is a Hamas lie. The building where they were being held was not a target, and it was not attacked by our forces. We didn't know exactly their locations. We don't attack a place if we know there may be hostages inside.
In her video, the young woman, Noah Argamani, described the deaths of the 2 men and said she had been wounded. Hamas continues to hold at least 130 or so Israelis hostage, kidnapped during the massacre on October 7th. On Sunday, families of the captives and their supporters gathered to mark their 100th day in custody and to call for their release.
100 days, who can believe this? It's unacceptable. We need to do everything we can to bring them back.
Israel has condemned Hamas's propaganda videos as a form of psychological warfare aimed at the Israeli families desperate for news of their loved ones and to pressure the Israeli government to make concessions to secure their release. At a news conference late Monday, Israel's defense minister said the only way to get the hostages home was by continuing to apply military pressure.
From Israel to Taiwan, now whereby Taiwan lost one of its few remaining diplomatic allies narrowly to China on Monday, just days after it elected a new president. China claims Taiwan as its own territory with no right to state-to-state ties, a position Taiwan strongly disputes, and the two have for years traded accusations of between courts using dollar diplomacy as they compete for diplomatic recognition. France 24 Charlie James reports.
Taiwan has lost one of its few diplomatic allies. On Monday, the tiny Pacific island nation of Nauru announced it ended official relations with Taiwan and now recognizes China as the sole legal government of Chinese territory. Beijing lauded the decision.
As a sovereign and independent country, Nauru announced that it recognizes the One China principle. It will break the so-called diplomatic ties with Taiwan and re-establish ties with China.
Nauru's surprise decision reduces Taiwan's diplomatic allies to just 12 nations and comes days after Taiwan's presidential elections. President-elect Lai Ching-te will take office in May and has been described as a separatist by China. Taiwan officials accused Beijing of bullying in reaction to the vote and of offering Nauru millions of dollars per year.
China actively reached out to Nauru politicians and used economic aids to induce the country to switch diplomatic recognition.
The U.S. official in charge of Taiwan relations called Nauru's decision disappointing and warned nations to be wary of China's commitments.
The PRC often makes promises in exchange for diplomatic relations that ultimately remain unfulfilled.
China considers Taiwan its own territory and says it will recover the island by force if necessary. Any nations that appear to lend legitimacy to Taiwan's government are met with condemnation. Taiwanese officials say they expect China will only increase its military and diplomatic pressure following the recent elections.
Well, that's it for me now. Thanks indeed for watching. Programs continue at the Nation TV. Stay tuned and take care.